Good morning. We're here today for the weekend in custody arraignment calendar. Today is Saturday, February 14th. My name is Judge Kendra Birchie. Are we ready to proceed?
Good morning, Your Honor. Darby Phelps for the state. The state's ready to go.
Yes, Your Honor. Eric Watson on behalf of Washoe County Public Defender's Office, and we're ready as well.
Thank you. Are there any special requests for continuances or requests regarding the order of today's proceedings before we begin?
I would just ask that Mr. Moore be last.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, I have no request for continuances at this time. I'm hoping that we're able to make contact between now and when the case is called.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and begin with Ario Santiago Ruiz, followed by Alexis Garcia.
Santiago.
Ok, buenos días. Vamos a empezar con Hermillo Santiago Ruiz.
Good morning.
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
Good morning.
We are here today for a bail hearing as well as for a first appearance bail hearing.
Estamos aquí entonces para la primera audiencia para ver si acaso tiene derecho a fianza.
Okay, está bien.
Probable cause has been found. The public defender's office has been appointed to represent the defendant.
Se ha encontrado motivo fundado, señor, y la oficina de abogados de oficio van a representarlo a usted en esta causa.
I am in receipt of a Nevada pretrial risk assessment, which indicates that the defendant scored as a 4 or a low risk utilizing that tool.
He recibido la evaluación de riesgo de Nevada previa al juicio y usted salió con un puntaje de 4 con esa herramienta que se usó.
Just for the record, the defendant is present, utilizing the services of a previously sworn and certified Spanish interpreter.
Para que conste en acta, usted está presente aquí detenido siendo usado el servicio de la intérprete jurídica que ha sido previamente juramentada, Jimena Fini, Certified Court Interpreter Spanish, NVFXP 610. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Are we ready to proceed state with the bail hearings?
¿Estamos listos para proceder, Fiscalía?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's ready to go.
Sí, su señoría, la Fiscalía está lista para proceder.
So, Your Honor, the state's requesting that bail remain as set at $50,000 on the assault with a deadly weapon arrest warrant case.
Su señoría, la Fiscalía está pidiendo entonces que mantenga la fianza de $50,000 por lo de agresión con un arma mortífera que tenía él una orden de aprehensión.
With pretrial services supervision with testing for controlled substances.
Con el servicio previo al juicio y que se le estén haciendo pruebas de sustancias ilícitas.
No contact with the named victim, Francis Colborn, as a pretrial condition and pursuant to statute.
I'm sorry, Madam DA, the name, Francisco?
Francis Colborn?
Que usted no puede tener que den una orden de no contacto con la presunta víctima que se llama Francis Colborn.
No contact with Moises Mancias.
Tampoco ningún contacto con Moisés Mancías.
No firearms or weapons.
Ni que pueda aportar o tener en su posesión armas, ningún tipo de arma de fuego.
And as to the possession of a controlled substance case, the state would request bail in the amount of $3,000.
Y en lo del caso de posesión de sustancias ilícitas, vamos a pedir una fianza de $3,000.
With pretrial services supervision with testing for controlled substances.
Con evaluaciones del servicio previo al juicio y que se le hagan pruebas de sustancias ilícitas.
Your Honor, the state acknowledges that Mr. Santiago scores a 4 on the risk assessment.
Su señoría, estamos en conocimiento de que él sale con un puntaje de 4 en la evaluación de riesgo.
However, the facts of this case are extremely concerning.
Sin embargo, los hechos de esta causa son bastante preocupantes.
They involve allegations of threats to kill with multiple weapons, a chainsaw, a firearm, and a knife.
Esto involucra bastantes, los alegatos dicen de que él estaba haciendo amenazas bastante preocupantes y que iba a hacerlo con una sierra eléctrica, que iba a hacer con un cuchillo.
I would note that the police responded to the location after the victim ran out of the apartment and neighbors called the police.
Yo entiendo de que la policía respondió al lugar de los hechos porque la víctima salió arrancando y se escondió con los vecinos para llamar a la policía.
And police located Moises Mancias nearby,
La policía localizó a Moisés Mancilla por ahí cerca,
who confirmed some of the violence and also indicated that the defendant used violence against him as well.
que él corroboró de que había violencia y que el imputado también había usado violencia en contra de él.
It doesn't appear that the state has charged the additional charges that could be brought as a result of all these different acts of violence.
Ahora, parece ser de que la fiscalía aún no ha admitido otros cargos, aún porque hay bastantes cargos de violencia en este caso,
But the state is considering that as the case moves forward.
pero la fiscalía está considerando eso para poder continuar con esta causa.
As far as criminal history, Mr. Santiago has a 2009 federal arrest for smuggling immigrants.
En cuanto a sus antecedentes penales, él tiene un cargo con el gobierno federal de los Estados Unidos en el 2009 por haber él estado pasando inmigrantes de manera ilícita.
A 2004 misdemeanor conviction for driving under the influence,
Una condena en el 2004 por conducir en estado de ebriedad
and a 1997 federal arrest for smuggling immigrants.
y un arresto del 1997 por él estar pasando inmigrantes ilícitamente.
We did attempt to contact the named victim at numerous telephone numbers
Tratamos de contactar a la víctima con varios teléfonos que tenemos
and have not yet been able to reach her.
y no hemos podido localizarla aún.
But based on the risk to the community safety, the state is requesting $50,000 on the arrest warrant case.
Pero basándose en esto, lo que nosotros queremos es pedir para poder, para la seguridad de la comunidad, queremos pedir en caso de la orden de aprehensión $50,000
And $3,000 on the possession of a controlled substance case with the conditions as previously stated.
y $3,000 por lo de las sustancias, $3,000 por lo de las sustancias ilícitas, como ya habíamos dicho en las condiciones anteriormente de este caso.
Thank you, defense.
Gracias, defensa.
Yes, Your Honor. In speaking with Mr. Santiago and reviewing his MPRA score,
Sí, su señoría, yo hablé con el señor Santiago y estuvimos revisando su evaluación de Nevada.
he does have a score of 4 for age and residence.
I'm sorry, counsel, I couldn't hear that part.
So he does have a score of 4 for age and residence.
Él tiene el puntaje 4 por su edad y por su residencia.
As the state pointed out, his criminal history is fairly remote.
Como dijo la fiscalía, los antecedentes penales no son muchos.
With the last conviction that I see is the DUI from 2004.
La última condena que yo veo acá es del 2004 por conducir en estado de ebriedad.
I think with that, some conditions can be fashioned to ensure safety community and return to court.
Yo creo que con eso podemos asegurar las ciertas condiciones para que asegurarnos de la seguridad de la comunidad y que él regrese aquí al tribunal.
And any sort of bail that the state is asking for would be a de facto detention, as he does not have that.
Cualquier monto de fianza va a causar de que él permanezca detenido porque él no tiene ese dinero.
Based on that, I'd be asking for either an OR release
Basándose en eso, voy a pedir que lo dejen salir bajo palabra de honor,
with conditions that you find appropriate,
con las condiciones que usted considere apropiadas
or a nominal bail amount.
o alguna cantidad baja de fianza.
And with that, I'll submit.
Con eso lo dejo a su criterio, señoría.
Based on the facts presented, the Nevada pretrial risk assessment and factors as outlined in NRS 178.
Basándose entonces todas esas evaluaciones debido a causales de las leyes de Nevada 178,
The court finds that the state has met its burden by proving by clear and convincing evidence that bail is necessary in these cases.
Damos el fallo de que la Fiscalía ha probado con pruebas claras y convincentes que fijar fianza es necesario.
With respect to RCR 2026-133-800, the court does consider the low Nevada pretrial risk assessment.
En cuanto al caso RCR 2026133800, vamos a considerar entonces la evaluación de riesgo de Nevada.
But given the likelihood of conviction, the threat of harm to the community, and specifically the named victim, bail is appropriate in this case.
Y por la probabilidad de las amenazas que él había causado a la víctima, entonces sí se considera que se fundamenta que se pida fianza.
Bail will be set in the amount of $30,000 bondable with no 10% cash option.
Usted entonces tendrá el derecho a una fianza de $30,000, pero no va a tener el derecho a que pueda pagar el 10% de eso.
If the defendant is able to post that bail amount, he will be required to be supervised by pretrial services and must check in within 1 business day of release.
Si llega a ser de que el imputado pueda pagar ese monto de fianza, él estaría entonces tendría que estarse reportando a la unidad previa al juicio y tendría que reportarse aquí al tribunal después de un día hábil.
I am imposing the condition that he cannot possess any firearms or weapons, as this is an alleged crime of violence.
Voy a imponer también la condición de que él no puede portar ni ser dueño de ningún tipo de arma, ya que esto es un acto de violencia.
Based off the allegations, I do find it is appropriate and there's a sufficient nexus to require that he cannot use any controlled substances or alcohol unless he has a valid prescription.
Basándose en los alegatos, encuentro es apropiado también de que él no puede consumir ningún tipo de sustancias ilícitas ni alcohol, no ser que sea algo recetado.
And be subjected to random drug and alcohol testing.
Y también va a tener, entonces, le van a poder hacer pruebas de alcohol y drogas al azar.
I am imposing the condition that he be subjected to residential confinement, and which a GPS monitor must be installed prior to release.
Voy a imponer también la condición de que usted va a estar en un arresto domiciliario y de que a usted le van a colocar el aparato si usted ya cuando salga de la cárcel.
I do find that is necessary in order to ensure the safety of the community, but that alone is not sufficient means in order to ensure the safety of the named victim.
Voy a colocar esas condiciones porque creo que eso va a ayudar para asegurarnos de la seguridad de la comunidad, aunque puede ser que ni siquiera sea suficiente.
I am imposing the order that, sir, as of immediately, you are not to contact the named victims in this case.
Voy a imponer inmediatamente, señor, una orden judicial de que usted para nada puede contactarse con las víctimas en este caso.
So you cannot contact and must stay 100 feet away from Francis Colburn Caboyer.
Usted voy a imponer entonces de que usted tiene que mantenerse alejado por lo menos 100 pies de Frances Coburn Caboyan,
As well as Moises Mencias.
como también de Moisés Mancías.
You cannot contact or attempt to contact the victims in any way, including in person, phone, text, email, electronic means, through social media, either directly or through an agent. That means someone working on your behalf.
Yo estoy imponiendo la orden, señor, de que usted para nada, absolutamente para nada puede tener ningún tipo de contacto con las personas. No puede intentar contactarse con ellos por teléfono, por mensaje de texto, por correo electrónico, a través de los medios sociales o a través de mandar mensajes por una tercera persona.
And state, just to confirm, were you requesting that no contact order pursuant to the statute as well for Francis?
Yes, Your Honor. Sorry.
Quiero aclarar, Fiscalía, que usted estaba pidiendo entonces el requisito de no contacto con Frances, si su señoría dice la fiscal.
And just to confirm, pursuant to statute, just for Francis and not also for Moises.
Y para confirmar, de acuerdo al estatuto, es solo por Frances, no Moisés.
Correct, Your Honor.
Correcto, su señoría.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. And so, sir, I'm also imposing a no contact order pursuant to NRS 178.4845 for a period of 120 days for Francis Colburn Caboyer.
Ok, señor. Quiero entonces que usted tenga entendido de que usted no puede tener ningún tipo de contacto de acuerdo a la ley 178.42845, que usted tiene que mantenerse alejado de ella de 120 días de la señora Frances Coburn Caboyan.
If you violate that order, you could be charged with a misdemeanor, found in contempt pursuant to NRS 22.010, have these conditions modified, and have your release revoked to be remanded into custody and or any other legal punishment.
Señor, quiero que usted entienda también de que si llega a ser que usted está en cumplimiento de esa orden judicial, usted puede ser imputado por un cargo de delito menor y eso va a causar de que usted entonces sea arrestado de nuevo y que eso va a causar de que se quiten las condiciones que usted tenía anteriormente.
For this case, there is a criminal complaint on file.
En este caso sí tenemos un documento acusatorio que ya está en archivo.
And so we will set the arraignment for February 17th at 9:30 a.m.
Vamos a fijar entonces la instrucción de cargos para el 17 de febrero a las 9:30 de la mañana.
In RPC 2026-05743, the court does make the same findings of facts.
Ok, y en el caso RPC 065743, entonces encontramos las mismas condiciones a los hechos.
Bail will be set in the amount of $3,000 bondable with a 10% cash option.
Vamos entonces a dejar la fianza en $3,000, que usted tendría derecho a fianza a ello y puede pagar el 10% de este.
If the defendant is able to post that bail amount, he will be required to be supervised by pretrial services.
Si llega a ser de que él no pueda pagar esa cantidad, si pueda pagar esa cantidad, usted va a estar entonces sometido a reportarse a la unidad previa al juicio.
And must check in within 1 business day of release.
Y tiene que reportarse un día hábil después de que haya salido de libertad.
I will require that he cannot use any controlled substances or alcohol unless he has a valid prescription based off the allegations. There is a sufficient nexus.
Voy a también a colocar la condición de que usted no puede consumir alcohol ni tampoco ningún tipo de sustancias ilícitas, a no ser que usted tenga una receta válida de medicamentos.
And require that he be subjected to random drug and alcohol testing.
Y que usted le van a estar haciendo pruebas de alcohol y drogas al azar.
That will be the order of the court, and in this case, we will set a 72-hour hearing.
Esa será la orden judicial y usted va a tener una audiencia en 72 horas más.
Which will be set for February 20th at 9:30 a.m.
Eso será para el 20 de febrero a las 9:30 de la mañana.
Thank you, and that concludes those matters. Thank you, Madam Interpreter.
Gracias. Eso concluye esta causa. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Next, we have Alexis Garcia, followed by Bowman. And I believe that is all of our cases with you, Madam Interpreter. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'm just having a hard time. Something's going on with my...
No problem. Good morning. We're here today for a first appearance bail hearing. Probable cause has been found and the public defender's office has been appointed to represent you. I am in receipt of the Nevada pretrial risk assessment, which indicates that you scored as a 4 or low risk utilizing that tool. State, are you ready to proceed with the bail hearing?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. The state is requesting bail in the amount of $3,000, but I wouldn't object to an on recognizance release to inpatient treatment, pretrial services supervision with testing for controlled substances, and no driving without a valid license, registration, and insurance. So yes, Mr. Barajas Garcia scores a 4 on the risk assessment. His only documented criminal history is 2 failure to appear arrest in 2025. It looks like those were from November 9th of 2025. So based on his history of very recent history of failures to appear, I do think that some bail is appropriate, but again, I wouldn't object to the on recognizance release to inpatient treatment.
Thank you. Do you have any information as to what the underlying case is for those failure to appears?
I don't, Your Honor. I wasn't able to see anything else in that regard. I'm not sure which court that case is out of.
Thank you. Defense?
Yes, Your Honor. And speaking with Mr. Barajas Garcia, as you pointed out, his MPRA score is a 4. Looks like he has points for age, misdemeanors, and substance abuse. Based on the facts, I guess, alleged in the probable cause sheet, it looks like it's a very low amount of drugs, 1.4 gross grams weight. I'm not sure if the state's going to charge this as a PCS or if this would be more of a possession of drug paraphernalia charge. I think that's going to matter based on the bail amount. I would just be asking for an OR release with pretrial service check-ins and testing. He does work at Qdoba. He's been there for 5 or 6 years. He's lived in Reno most of his life. We were also able to verify an address that he's been at for the last 9 years. We were able to speak with his mom. And that she did verify he's lived here his whole life. He's been at Qdoba for the last 3 to 5 years. We were able to verify a phone number for him, which I think was already verified prior. But I think with all of that, an OR release is appropriate with pretrial service testing and check-ins.
Thank you, sir. I do find that their least restrictive means that can be imposed in order to ensure the safety of the community, so you will be granted an own recognizance release here today. You will be required to be supervised by pretrial services, so you must check in with pretrial services within 1 business day of release. So that'll be this Tuesday. You are required to be subjected to random drug and alcohol testing, and so you cannot use any controlled substances or alcohol unless you have a valid prescription. And I do find that there's sufficient nexus based off of the allegations contained. Additionally, I am imposing the condition that you cannot drive without having valid documentation, and that is due to community safety. Additionally, I am requiring that you complete 3 mutual support groups per week until you are in treatment. So those could be things like NA meetings, AA meetings, the non-secular version. So that will be required to be provided to pretrial services weekly. That will be the order of the court, and we will go ahead and set a 72-hour hearing, which will be set for March 4th at 9 a.m. So you are required to appear in Reno Justice Court as well as comply with and make all of your court appearances and obey all laws and comply with these conditions, or else bench warrant will be issued for your arrest. Thank you.
Okay.
Kanan Bowman, followed by Jane Doe.
Oh, thank you.
Where I did, digital and just getting hired with staffing as a machine operator. So I do have a job available like that. Okay.
Good morning. We're here today for first appearance bail hearing. Probable cause has been found and the public defender's office has been appointed to represent you. I am in receipt of the Nevada pretrial risk assessment, which indicates that you scored as a 6 or a moderate risk utilizing that tool. State, are you ready to proceed with the bail hearing?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. So these are all misdemeanor offenses, and it looks like based on the probable cause sheet that the defendant's grandmother didn't want to pursue charges for destruction of property for the Ring camera that was damaged when he shot it. And based on all of these factors, the state's not objecting to an own recognizance release with pretrial services supervision, no firearms, and I would request no contact with the subject property at 5700 Microwave Road.
Thank you. My apologies. So it's for the conditions and just the no contact order. Or was there another? I apologize. I couldn't hear.
Yeah, no problem, Your Honor. So I requested pretrial services, either monitoring or check-ins, whichever Your Honor finds appropriate, no firearms, and no contact with that subject property.
Thank you. Defense?
Yes, Your Honor, we'll submit on that.
Thank you, sir. I am granting your own recognizance release here today. I do find that there are least restrictive means that can be imposed in order to ensure the safety of the community. You will be required to be monitored by Reno Justice Court. I'm not imposing pretrial supervision as I don't find that is appropriate in this case. You will be required to check in at Reno Justice Court within 1 business day of release. You will be required to have no contact with that address as discussed. And you will be required to not possess any firearms or weapons based off of the allegations. I do find that is appropriate in order to ensure the safety of the community. That will be the order of the court, and we will go ahead and set an arraignment, and that will be set for March 4th at 9 a.m. You must appear in Reno Justice Court on that date and time, as well as make all of your court appearances and obey all laws and comply with all these conditions, or else a bench warrant will be issued for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Jane Doe, followed by Leandre Duprey.
I was told that she would Duprey just.
Sure, my understanding is that she did waive. We do have competency concerns.
And Your Honor, it looks like we still need a wins check for this defendant.
We're able to move forward here today. So based off of state, is your request for a continuance due to not having a wins check in the Nevada patrol risk assessment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. So we'll waive the defendant's appearance for today's proceeding. And we will go ahead and continue this until tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. In order to have that be accomplished. Thank you. I do find that there's sufficient good cause. Next, we have Leandre Duprey, followed by David Glover. Good morning, sir. Did I say your name correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. We're here today for first appearance bail hearing. Probable cause has been found and the public defender's office has been appointed to represent you. I am in receipt of the Nevada pretrial risk assessment, which indicates that you scored as a 5 or a moderate risk utilizing that tool. State, are you ready to proceed with the bail hearing?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. So Mr. Duprey also has a PMP hold. He's got a felony conviction in 2025 for carrying a concealed weapon. He's on probation on that case with 24 to 60 months underlying. In that case, he did have numerous pretrial violations for positive and missed tests. He's also got a companion conviction in 2025 for DUI. According to his 2025 PSI, he has 13 prior misdemeanor convictions, 1 prior gross misdemeanor conviction that was for carrying a concealed weapon in 2020, and then 4 failure to appear warrants between 2017 and 2021. So unfortunately, it appears Mr. Duprey is a risk of continued criminal conduct. The state's requesting bail in the amount of $5,000 with pretrial services supervision with testing for controlled substances if he's able to post.
Thank you. And would you have any objection to an OR release through direct transport to an appropriate treatment facility?
I would, Your Honor. In my recollection, I should have written this down, but my recollection is they gave that a shot in his other case. As I mentioned, he had numerous compliance issues. And I think since he's on probation for a very recent felony offense, I think it was October, I don't think that inpatient is appropriate at this time.
Thank you. Defense?
Yes, Your Honor. We'd be asking for an OR release today. My client has been on probation for 4 or 5 months. We do understand that he does have the probation hold. We were able to verify some information with his wife. One of those things being his residence, which I believe would drop his points down from a 5 to more like a 3, which would be a low risk. He has lived at the residence. The address that we have has been there for 2 years. He's lived in Reno for the last 20 years, so I don't believe he's a flight risk. There's nothing to show. He doesn't have any FTAs, so there's nothing to show he doesn't take care of his court proceedings. It sounds like he does show up to court and takes care of the things.
I was literally going to go see my probation officer.
He was on his way to see his probation officer when this did occur. My understanding is that he's been checking, and he was also visited by his probation officer, I believe, yesterday. He does have a job at Wild Orchid. He's been there for over 3 years. He does have a phone number. I think with all that, we can ensure safety to the community by, as you stated, either an OR or release to an inpatient facility. And with that, I'll submit, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you. Based off the information provided, I do find that there are least restrictive means that can be imposed in order to ensure the safety of the community. So, sir, you will be released here today on this matter. This does not impact your other case. So if there's a current parole or probation hold, that will still remain. This court does not have the ability to interfere with that. So I just want to make sure that is clear. You'll be released on this case. You will be required to be supervised by pretrial services and check in with pretrial services within 1 business day of release.
Excuse me, Judge.
Ask me. You don't need to talk to her.
Oh,
Yeah. You can ask.
I still have to check in the pretrial services, and I have a probation officer.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. And the purpose for that, sir, if I understand, and I can hear that you're saying, hey, I've got a probation officer as well. So with pretrial services, you need to be supervised by them, as I will be requiring that you will be subjected to random drug and alcohol testing. And that's needed in order to have that be accomplished. So you will be required to be subjected to random drug and alcohol testing. You cannot use any controlled substances or alcohol unless you have a valid prescription. And I do find that there's a sufficient nexus based off of the allegations. Additionally, you will be required to complete 3 mutual support groups per week until you are in treatment. And so that could be NAAA meetings and non-secular versions. So you will be required to provide proof of that to pretrial services. We will go ahead and set your arraignment. That will be set for March 4th at 9 a.m. You are required to comply with all these conditions as well as make all court appearances and obey all laws, or else a bench warrant will be issued for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
They'll give you all that. Right?
I'll get all of that. Yeah.
David Glover,
Yeah, yeah.
followed by David
Glover.
McCord.
Glover.
Contact.
Come on
Yeah. Sorry, what was that name?
Last name Glover, Glover.
Correct.
Good morning. We're here today for first appearance bail hearing. Probable cause has been found and the public defender's office has been appointed to represent you. I am in receipt of the Nevada pretrial risk assessment, which indicates that you scored as a 10 or higher risk utilizing that tool. State, are you ready to proceed with bail hearing?
So yes, thank you, Your Honor. So I haven't decided on what I'm going to ask for on this case. Frankly, I'm leaning towards an OR, but I'm kind of curious about his living situation. The 10 on the risk assessment is quite high, and he wasn't scored any points for failures to appear, despite that he was also arrested on a failure to appear warrant. It looks like that was a failure to appear warrant on a citation for obstructing sidewalk. Prior to that, his most recent criminal history is 2015. So I am concerned about the failure to appear and the risk assessment score. However, acknowledging the remoteness of the rest of his criminal history, I'm leaning OR, but I'm just curious about his living situation.
Thank you. Defense, are you able to provide that information?
Yes, Your Honor. So we're able to speak. He does not have any housing. Our suggestion today was going to be an OR with direct transport to an inpatient facility. He is willing to seek help and do a program if required.
Defense, with
So,
that
Your
in
Honor,
mind-
that sounds like it's a good solution for Mr. Glover. Hopefully get him on his feet with some treatment. So perhaps just a lower bail, maybe
I
$1,000
can't afford any bail.
or an own recognizance release to inpatient.
Thank you. Defense, is there anything else that you wish to say? I know that we just turned to you in order to get that information regarding his residence.
No, Your Honor. I do know that he wants sober living. So I think that OR release to an inpatient facility would be appropriate.
Thank you. Based on the facts as presented, the Nevada pretrial risk assessment as the factors in NRS 178.4853 and NRS 178.498, the court does find that bail is appropriate in this case in order to ensure the safety of the community. So I am setting bail in the amount of $1,000 bondable with the 10% cash option. This order will read bail or an OR release through direct transport by IAP or DSU to an appropriate treatment facility. So sir, just reach out with them and they'll work with you to be able to find that appropriate treatment facility. That will be the order of the court. I will require that you be supervised it'll be just supervision by pretrial services. It will be supervision. You'll be required to check in with them within 1 business day of release. Additionally, I am imposing the condition that you cannot use any controlled substances or alcohol unless you have a valid prescription and be subjected to random drug and alcohol testing. The state, I am not going to hold you to this, but I am considering setting a pre-sentence screening. Do you have any information as to whether or not this will be charged as those felonies or would be reduced to misdemeanors?
I don't have that information, Your Honor, based on, I assume it's going to be charged as a felony, but I'm not sure what the charging deputy is going to do.
Thank you. So with that, we will just go ahead and set a 72-hour hearing and we won't set the PSS screening at this time. And that'll be set for February 20th at 9:30 a.m. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You're all done.
Thank you.
David McCord, followed by Adam Neto. Good morning. We're here today for first appearance bail hearing. Probable cause has been found and the public defender's office has been appointed to represent you. I am in receipt of the Nevada pretrial risk assessment, which indicates that you scored as an 8 or a moderate risk utilizing that tool. State, are you ready to proceed with the bail hearing?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. So this is one of those situations where the risk assessment score really doesn't reflect the true risk that he is to the community. So he has a 2024 felony conviction for trafficking in a controlled substance, 100 to 400 grams. The history of that case is kind of interesting. He was first convicted on it after a bench trial in District Court Department 9 in 2022. That was during the pendency of an appeal of an order. An appeal on an order denying a motion to suppress. The Supreme Court ultimately reversed and remanded the denial of that motion to suppress. And then Department 9 sentenced him to 28 to 72 months in 2024. So it was a 2021 case, but he wasn't ultimately convicted didn't receive the final conviction until 2024. He did have a pretrial failure to appear on that case when after he posted bail in the amount of $7,500 cash. He was extradited to California after he posted bail. That was on a controlled substances related offense. And he was also arrested in Carson City on a new felony offense during the pendency of that case. He's got the 2022 felony conviction for sales of a controlled substance out of Carson City, 2021 felony conviction for possession of controlled substance for sales out of California. Looks like he picked up the new trafficking in Washoe County during pretrial release in that case. And then 2013, a felony conviction for sell or distribute controlled substance. That was a federal conviction. 2005 misdemeanor conviction for DUI, 1994 felony conviction for PCS, and then another DUI in 1991. So in this case, there's a high likelihood of conviction with the possibility, very real possibility of a life sentence. It sounds like he's also facing significant charges in Carson City as well. They executed the search warrant in his home, found another pound of methamphetamine in addition to GHB and some other drugs. He has a very recent history of very similar offenses and a recent history of committing serious drug offenses while out on pretrial release. He posts bail and then he continues injecting drugs into the community while on pretrial release. We know he previously posted significant amounts of bail to bail out. So this court, frankly, must impose a very high bail amount to ensure it amounts to a detention order because that's the only thing that's going to protect the community. So the state is requesting bail in the amount of $1 million, bondable only, pretrial services, supervision with testing for drugs and alcohol if he's able to post that, house arrest with GPS if he's able to post, and must remain in Nevada.
Do you have any information? I understand that you're indicating the VA stop with the fact that he, well, as part of your information as to why a $1 million bail is appropriate is based off that he had previously posted a very high bail amount. What was that amount that had been previously posted?
He posted $7,500 cash. So I want to say it was a $50,000 bail, but it was a 15% cash option that was back in 2021. And that was just on this case. He had also, I don't know if he posted bail on the California case when he picked up that other case. The information on the Carson City cases and the California cases, I don't know what the bail amounts would have been in those cases. But typically when we see something like this with a very large amount of drugs, we know that he had 2 pounds of methamphetamine. In this case, 1 pound. In Carson City, 1 pound. Typically, when someone's pushing that weight of drugs, they have access to large amounts of cash. So again, we don't know what that amount of cash would be. Again, I'm asking for a detention order. Sometimes I ask for a very large amount, and then I come back and see that a defendant has posted. So due to the concerns, again, based on what we know about people with very large quantities of drugs, typically they have access to large quantities of liquid cash. Just to be on the safe side, I'm requesting the $1 million bail.
Thank you. Do you have any information as to whether or not he owns that property in Carson City as discussed?
I do not have that information, Your Honor.
It's my mother's.
Thank you. Defense?
Yes, Your Honor. So in speaking with Mr. McCord, he does not have a job, but he is a caretaker for his mother. She is the owner of that property that you just mentioned in Carson City. He does collect VA benefits. He was part of the U.S. Army. He does stay with his mom. We were able to get her phone number. We were unable to contact her. He does have a personal phone number as well that we verified. So I think he's also unemployed, but he does get government assistance. So I think with that, Your Honor, I understand the state's concern. I think some conditions can be fashioned to ensure safety of the community, one of those being GPS monitoring. So that they can keep tabs on where he's going. I also think house arrest would be appropriate as part of that. And clearly testing, pretrial service check-ins, and anything else that you would find appropriate, Your Honor.
Thank you. Based on the facts as presented, the Nevada pretrial risk assessment, the factors as outlined in NRS 178.4853 and NRS 178.498, the court does find that the state has met its burden by proving by clear and convincing evidence that bail is necessary in this case in order to ensure the safety of the community. I will note that a detention order is appropriate in this case. Based off of the information provided, I do find that a bail in the amount of $500,000 bondable with no 10% is appropriate. I will note the state's concerns as well as notice some of it is based off of other cases. So the court does have to consider this individual with the amount of with the information that I've been provided. That amount is what this court does find is appropriate given the history of similar offenses, the history of noncompliance, and the lack of ties to this community. Again, I will note that a detention order is appropriate, and so if that bail turns out to not be a detention order, the state is more than welcome to file the appropriate request with this court. I will require that the defendant be subjected to pretrial services where he must check in with pretrial services within 24 hours of release. I am imposing the condition that he cannot use any controlled substances or alcohol unless he has a valid prescription, be subjected to random drug and alcohol testing. I am imposing the condition that he must remain in Nevada, as that is a least restrictive means. That will be the order of the court. I'm not going to impose the GPS monitoring at this time. I will require that we will go ahead and set a 72-hour hearing. That'll be set for February 20th at 9:30 a.m. Thank you. Adam Neto, followed by Aaron Sazac. Good morning. We're here today for a first appearance bail hearing. Probable cause has been found and the public defender's office has been appointed to represent you. I am going to receive the Nevada pretrial risk assessment, which indicates that you scored as a 4, which was overridden to a higher risk, or well, it was overridden. So it was overridden to the moderate risk. My apologies. State, are you ready to proceed with bail hearing?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. So I was initially going to request a continuance for victim contact, but it looks like we don't have any contact information for her. So I'm not sure that anything will change before tomorrow. So I'm ready to go ahead and go forward, Your Honor. So yes, Mr. Nieto scores a 4 on the risk assessment. He is a California resident. According to his cousin, he took her car from California and drove it here to break into the victim's home and steal her belongings. He was located at the Nugget with the victim's belongings in the car. He admitted to forcing his way into her apartment. And by the way, Your Honor, the state will likely be charging home invasion on this case as well, in addition to the residential burglary that he was booked on. So as far as criminal history, his criminal history is more concerning than you would think based on his score of a 4. He has an active protection order out of Arizona, which was served on August 6th of 2025 with a separate protected person in that case. In 2024, he's got a felony arrest for abused family. That's out of Hawaii. The disposition on that case is released pending investigation. 2009, he's got a gross misdemeanor conviction for taking vehicle without consent. He was also arrested for burglary in that case, and ultimately his probation was revoked. And then in 2008, he's got a misdemeanor arrest for domestic battery with no disposition. So he has a lengthy history, Your Honor, at least in terms of time, of domestic related incidents. This is a domestic related incident. Again, there's that active protection order out of another state with another protected party. And then he's got a felony arrest in 2024 out of another state for a domestic related incident. He doesn't have any apparent ties to this community other than dating the named victim who lives here. And so, Your Honor, bail is appropriate in this case. I'm requesting bail in the amount of $20,000, bondable only based on the charges, pretrial services, supervision, and no contact with the victim as a condition and pursuant to statute, and no firearms.
Thank you. Defense?
Yes, Your Honor. So as the state pointed out, he does have an impaired score of 4 for age and residence. It sounds like we were able to get in touch with his cousin Ashley, who he does live with. He's lived with her since October 2025. He was living with his mom in Arizona prior to that. He just got a job apparently this week at a Toyota dealership as a sales rep. He also does get Social Security disability. She stated that he's 100% disabled for PTSD and bipolar. There's also potentially a TBI from a car accident he had in 2023. She did tell us she's his medical power of attorney. And he was hospitalized 3 weeks ago. He does take medications, but he has been in and out, it sounds like, of some hospitals for quite some time. I think what would be appropriate is an OR release with either a mental health evaluation or mental health therapy.
I do outpatient.
And he does outpatient therapy now. So I think to continue that would be appropriate. Obviously a stay away order of where this happened. Obviously a stay away order of this ex-girlfriend, and any other conditions that you would find appropriate.
Thank you. Based on the facts as presented, the Nevada Pretrial Risk Assessment and factors as outlined in NRS 178.4853 and NRS 178.498, the court does find that the state has met its burden by proving by clear and convincing evidence that bail is necessary in this case in order to ensure the safety of the community. It will note the likelihood of conviction, the history of noncompliance, the criminal history involving domestic related offenses, and lack of ties to this community. Bail will be set at the amount of $15,000 bondable with no 10% cash option. So if you're able to post that bail amount, you will be required to be supervised by pretrial services. So you must check in within 24 hours of release. You cannot possess any firearms or weapons based off the allegations. Additionally, I am imposing a no contact order that begins immediately. So you'd have no contact with Delaney Nesbitt, as well as the location of 1555 Ridgeview Drive. You cannot contact them and stay 100 feet away from the victim in that location. Cannot contact or attempt to contact the victim in any way, including in person, phone, text, email, electronic means, or through social media, either directly or through an agent. That means someone working on your behalf. That would be pursuant to this release order, as well as pursuant to NRS 178.4845 for a period of 120 days. That would be the order of the court, and we will set a 72-hour hearing, which will be set for February 20th at 9:30 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron Sazac, followed by Randolph Deleon. Good morning. We're here today for first appearance bail hearing. Sir, how do you say your last name?
Sadzak's correct. Your
Thank
Honor.
you. The court is in receipt of the Nevada Pretrial Risk Assessment, which indicates that you scored as a 6 or a moderate risk. In case I did not say it, the Public Defender's Office has been appointed to represent you. And let's go ahead and state, are we ready to proceed with the bail hearing?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. So, as far as criminal history, it looks like Mr. Sazac has an active pending case. That's a gross misdemeanor arrest for destruction of property. I believe it was out of this court. It might have been Sparks, though. That case is set for preliminary hearing on February 25th. 2021, he's got a felony conviction for possessed gun with altered serial number. He's got a felony conviction in 2021 for PCS. And he's got a misdemeanor conviction in 2024, contribute to delinquency of a minor. So by way of his co-defendants, Your Honor, Judge Sullivan set bail on his co-defendant, Laganos, who only had one misdemeanor conviction for reckless driving and scored a 4. She set bail in that case at $2 million. Judge Pearson set bail on the other co-defendants at $2 million. So this defendant has a pending case and he has 2 prior felony convictions. The facts of this case, the case involves a major drug trafficking ring. When they did a bust on one of the residences, the street value of the drugs in the house was over $1 million. I think Judges Sullivan and Pearson considered all of these things when they set that high $2 million bail for the co-defendants with less criminal history, and the state's asking that this court set bail commensurate with those co-defendants at $2 million with, let's see, house arrest, GPS prior to release, and pretrial services with testing for drugs and alcohol.
Thank you. So just to be clear, you are only requesting the $2 million. That was the same as the co-defendants. Okay.
Correct, Your Honor.
Thank you. Defense?
Yes, Your Honor. And speaking with Mr. Sazac, he works at Soundwaves LLC. He also does DoorDash. We were able to verify info with his mother. He's lived at the address that was provided for over 10 years, born and raised in Reno. We also verified his phone number. So I believe that brings his MPRA score down a couple. Obviously, $2 million is going to be de facto detention. If there is a bail amount imposed, what I'd be asking for is $100,000 bondable. With that, I'll submit, Your Honor.
Thank you. I'll note based off the information provided, it appears that that would be 1 point as everything else had been previously verified. To bring his score down to a 5, or still moderate risk. Based on the facts as presented, the reduced Nevada pretrial risk assessment and the factors as outlined in NRS 178.4853 and NRS 178.498, the court does find that the state has met its burden by proving by clear and convincing evidence that bail is necessary in this case. I will note the prior history that the defendant is pending criminal history while alleged to have committed these offenses. I will note the significant amount of potential ability to, with the amount of drugs that were located, to post a significant high bail amount. So the court is considering that. I will note that the state has discussed the co-defendants. However, the court is not making its decision with the bail amount based off of that. It is considering the individualized factors for this individual. And bail set in the amount of $2 million, and that will be bondable with no 10% cash option is appropriate as a detention order in this case. If the defendant is able to post that bail, he will be required to be supervised by pretrial services and must check in within 1 business day of release. I am imposing the condition that he be subjected to residential confinement, which must be installed prior to release. I do find that that is necessary in order to ensure the safety of the community. Additionally, I will require that he cannot use any controlled substances or alcohol unless he has a valid prescription and be subjected to random drug and alcohol testing. That will be the order of the court. And in this case, we will go ahead and set a 72-hour hearing, which will be set for February 20th at 9:30 a.m. And Madam Clerk, can we confirm? I believe that that other case is a Reno Justice Court. Thank you. Can we make sure it's noted that the defendant is in custody, and let's go ahead and set an OR bail revocation hearing in that case as well. Okay. Yes, please. So that'll be set for Tuesday at February 17th at 9:30 a.m. Thank you.
Yeah.
Randolph Deleon, followed by Delford Moore.
My understanding is that for Mr. Deleon, this is a fugitive. I'm not sure if the state has the paperwork.
They haven't yet. This is just the first appearance. So is he present?
He is not, Your Honor.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and waive his appearance. We're here just for that first appearance. We will go ahead. Probable cause has been found, and we will set a 72-hour hearing for February 20th at 9:30 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Delford Moore. Good morning. We're here today for a first appearance bail hearing for 2 separate matters. The Public Defender's Office has been appointed to represent you. The court is in receipt of the Nevada pretrial risk assessment, which indicates that the defendant scored as a 7 or a moderate risk utilizing that tool. State, are you ready to proceed with the bail hearing?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. So the state's requesting bail in the amount of $3,000 on each case. In one of those, he struck a paramedic in the face. He was then ad booked for sex offender failure to register. He told officers that he's not going to register, so the state has zero confidence that he will comply with that if released. He does score a 7 on the risk assessment. He was also arrested on a failure to appear bench warrant at a Sparks Justice Court. That was on a 2025, December 3rd, 2025 felony arrest for sex offender failure to register. I didn't object to an own recognizance release in that case based on the remoteness of the rest of his criminal history, but he never checked in with pretrial services, and then he failed to appear for his arraignment. As I just mentioned, the rest of his criminal history is pretty remote. He's got a felony arrest in 2013 for sex offender failure to register. That case was dismissed due to a finding that the defendant was not competent. He's got a 2012 felony arrest for battery on a police officer, 2005 criminal history. It looks like he's got a gross misdemeanor conviction in 2005 for sex offender failure to register, and then history going back to the underlying offense in 1994. So based on the high risk of continued criminal conduct and future non-appearance, the state's requesting bail in the amount of $3,000 on each case.
Thank you. Defense.
Yes, Your Honor, I'd be asking for an oral release as he can't afford any bail. He is homeless. He does stay at the care campus. Doesn't have a phone. He doesn't have a job. No benefits. So any sort of bail would be de facto detention. With that, I'll submit, Your Honor.
Thank you. Based on the facts as presented in the Nevada pretrial risk assessment, the factors as outlined in NRS 178.4853 and NRS 178.498, the court does find that the state has met its burden by proving by clear and convincing evidence that bail is necessary in this case in order to ensure the safety of the community. I will note the lack of the history of non-compliance, the lack of ties to this community, as well as with the statements of the defendant regarding his willingness to not comply with his court-ordered requirements. The court does find that does go into the factor, and bail will be set in RPC 2026-065721 in the amount of $3,000. That will be bondable with a 10% cash option. If the defendant is able to post that bail amount, I will require that he be supervised by pretrial services, and he must check in within 1 business day of release. In RPC 2026-065731, the court does make the same findings of facts, and bail will be set in an amount of $3,000 bondable with a 10% cash option. If the defendant is able to post that bail amount, he will also be required to be supervised by pretrial services and must check in within 1 business day of release. We will go ahead and set a 72-hour hearing for both of these matters, and that will be set for February 20th at 9:30 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. This way.
Thank you, everyone. And it is my understanding that that concludes today's proceedings. Just want to confirm before we log off.
Yes, Your Honor. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Judge, you too.